of beauty, isle of splendor, isle to all so sweet and fair. On the surely gazing wonder at the gifts so rich and rare. Rivers, valleys, hills, and mountains, all these gifts we do extol. Healthy land so like all fountains, giving cheer that warms the soul. Dominica, God has blessed thee with a kind, benign, and bright. Pastures green and flowers of beauty, filling all with pure delight. And the people strong and healthy, full of godly reverence care. May we ever seek to praise thee for these gifts so rich and rare. Come ye forward, sons and daughters of this gem beyond compare. Strive for honor, sons and daughters, do the right, be firmly fair. Toil with hearts and hands and voices, we must prosper, sound the call, in which everyone rejoices. All for each and each for all.
We will now have a welcome and opening remarks by Lord Phillips, the new president of DARDA.
His Excellency Simon Richards, Ambassador and Permanent Representative to the United Nations. Ms. Dylthea Theodore, Vice Consul General of Dominica, fellow Dominicans and friends of Dominicans, welcome and thank you so much for celebrating Dominica's 22nd anniversary of independence with DARDA. Thank you too for your consistent support of DARDA's efforts through the years. When you support us, then you invariably support Dominica. Because Dominica is indeed the common thread that binds us all here together. And it is Dominica which drives DARDA's energies and shapes our vision. There's no other way to put it. Without your support, we would be unable to fulfill our goals and carry out the mission of our organization. Next year, we celebrate 20 years, or 20th anniversary, I should say. And as we look back through the years, DARDA, I think, has been successful in achieving some of its goals. Our concentration has been mostly in the area of health, education, and social services. We have touched the lives of the young through our donations to the Alpha Center, the refurbishing of the children's wing of the Dominica Rosie Library, which incidentally was renamed DARDA's Children Public Library. And our annual Christmas toy drive, which to us is particularly significant because it brings so much joy to so many children in Dominica at a very important time. We have touched the lives of the older generation as well through our support for the Rosie Infirmary as well as the Portsmouth Infirmary. Just recently we sent a large cash donation to both the Portsmouth and Rosie Infirmary. as a fulfillment of our commitment of last year's anniversary dance. There is, however, another important DARDA goal, and one that you're witnessing right now. It is the preservation of our rich cultural heritage through celebrations such as this. It is no irony that we have this affair, this celebration, on a Sunday and in the daytime. This is purposely planned so as to bring families and friends, parents and children together in a great cultural experience, where our national dress and traditional dances can be enjoyed, and at the same time, we can help promote a greater understanding of our heritage. This is a time of great challenge for Dominica. DARDA will continue to provide assistance where possible, working with individuals and organizations. And together, I think we can effectively impact the development of Dominica. We appreciate your generosity and look to your continued support. Thank you.
And now we'll have His Excellency, the Ambassador and Permanent Representative to Dominica, of Dominica to the United Nations, Mr. Simon Richards, come to give a tribute to our late Prime Minister, the Honorable Roosevelt Douglas.
Myself, Theodore, Vice Consul, Consul General of New York, members of the DARDA Executive Committee, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, permit me, Madam Chairman, to express my thanks for having been invited to render this tribute to the late Prime Minister, the Honorable Roosevelt Douglas. The late Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Roosevelt Douglas, was taken to his final resting place on Hampstead Estate on October 14, 2000, one day before his 60th birthday. Early in the day, the gathering for his funeral services at Portsmouth included officials from different parts of the world. Representatives from the United States, Libya, Canada, Cuba, Nigeria, the United Kingdom, the Caribbean, among others, joined to pay their last respects to this man of international stature from the small island state of Dominica. Also included in that assemblage of persons, in their large numbers, were the poor, the disadvantaged, and the powerless. Those for whom he had such concern, and with whose struggles for survival he had been so intimately involved for all of his adult life. They came from all parts of the island and beyond, many traveling long distances to say farewell to their beloved Rosie. It was the measure of the man that his death was the occasion for bringing together not only representatives of governments of diverse ideological and political thinking, but also a meeting place for people of such markedly different circumstance of economics and power. Indeed, what we witnessed in Portsmouth on that October day was a reflection of Rosie's life and endeavors. When the young man who left Dominica in 1961 to pursue studies in agriculture at Guelph University in Canada came face to face with racism and the discrimination and indignities associated with it, he changed course and courses, enlisting in the civil rights movement, and upon graduation from Guelph, proceeding to study political science at McGill University. But while he marched with the likes of Black Power advocate Stokely Carmichael, he established alliances with establishment figures in Canada, becoming friends with Canadian Prime Ministers John Diefenbaker and Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Those alliances were not for his personal gain. Rather, they were in the aid of bridging the divide between the powerful and the weak, a process he considered necessary in the struggle for justice and equality, and to which he would dedicate his life. But Rosie understood very well that the struggle for change meant challenging established practices and entrenched power, and that the effectiveness of civil disobedience involves the willingness to accept the penalties that will necessarily flow. That is why, after the incident at Sir George Williams University, he refused the help of his powerful friends, or to be persuaded to accept offers of amnesty, preferring instead to take his medicine, as he would say, and go to jail. Later, he took pride in referring to himself as a jailbird, much in the tradition of men like Nkrumah and New, who, having been imprisoned by the metropolitan authorities for challenging colonial rule, would proudly refer to themselves as prison graduates. Throughout his adult life, Rosie had a singularly passionate commitment to the struggle for the liberation of black people everywhere, for political empowerment of the poor and disenchanted, and social economic justice for all. He felt at home with the downtrodden and identified with their quest for dignity, respect, and better economic conditions. In a speech delivered during the Millennium Assembly at the United Nations on September 7th, he made frequent references to the common man, quote unquote, not for rhetorical effect, but because of his genuine concern, lamenting the fact that in this age of the revolution in information technology, quote, well over half of the world's population does not have access to basic telephone services. Of all the photographs published since Rosie's death, to my mind, the one that most perfectly portrays his caring, compassion, and communion with the less fortunate is the one depicting a smiling Prime Minister stooping and conversing with a paraplegic in a wheelchair on a street in Rosie. Most people would lean forward or bend over the man. Rosie felt compelled to meet him at his level. That was quintessential Rosie. The essence of his being was equal and dignified treatment for every person, irrespective of class, race, disability, or economic circumstance. In or about the last year as President of South Africa, Nelson Mandela traveled to Tripoli to thank the Libyan leader Colonel Gaddafi for his support to the liberation forces in their struggle against apartheid. The government of the United States condemned the visit. Libya was under a United Nations air embargo, and the then President Mandela had to fly to a neighboring country and travel 100 miles by land to Tripoli. Notwithstanding those conditions, so grateful was Mr. Mandela that he felt obliged to convey his thanks personally to the Libyan leader. What most of us did not know at the time was that Rosie was the moving power of Libya's assistance to the African National Congress. And from what has been disclosed recently, it appears that when the Libyan leadership displayed initial reluctance, Rosie engaged in a little subterfuge and got his way. Rosie would not be denied in his efforts to right the wrong that was being perpetrated against the majority of South Africans by a racist minority. Rosie's international solidarity work and his role in the liberation struggle in the 80s and 90s were not confined to South Africa. He crisscrossed Africa, providing support to liberation forces in Southwest Africa, now Namibia, and other parts of the continent. During that same period, acting through the international labor movement, Rosie established significant relationships with other labor parties and governments in Europe. He viewed those relationships as invaluable assets to be utilized in the formulation of a strategy for the economic development of his country. And in the course of his brief stewardship as Prime Minister of Dominica, he underscored the importance by the constancy with which they were promoted as building blocks in a new corporate effort with Europe. Rosie Douglas was not a politician of the conventional mold. He did not shrink from expressing views or advocating positions that were considered politically unwise. For different reasons, he expressed admiration for Colonel Gaddafi of Libya and President Fidel Castro of Cuba, and in the case of Fidel Castro, it appears that the admiration was mutual. On the 27th of September, the Cuban ambassador to the United Nations presented me with a document from President Castro inviting the Prime Minister to make a formal visit to Cuba. The irony is that within days and before the communication could be transmitted to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it was the President of Cuba who was paying his respects through a minister of the Cuban government. But Rosie had visited Cuba on numerous occasions in the past. At a time during the Cold War, when the Cuban leader had few vocal support among Caribbean politicians, Rosie had the foresight to establish the Cuban Scholarship Program, which today provides the widest range of training opportunities for young Dominicans and is embraced by political leaders of all persuasions. Of course, not everyone shared or even understood the late Prime Minister's vision for a humane and just society and his strategy for achieving it. Indeed, his articulation of the way forward was sometimes met with consternation and disbelief. A clear case in point being his declaration of intent soon after becoming Prime Minister to seek closer association with the European Union. But time and again, Rosie, the unconventional politician, had demonstrated his ability to achieve success in non-traditional ways. And if he were addressing you today, I think he would feel very comfortable with the following quote from George Bernard Shaw. Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and ask why not, unquote. The legacy of Roosevelt Bernard Douglas is that he dared to ask why not, and in so doing, affected in a fundamental and beneficial way the lives of many people in Dominica, the Caribbean, Africa, and elsewhere. The man who returned to Dominica in 1976 and immediately joined forces with those campaigning for independence from Britain became the fifth Prime Minister of his country and the first to die in office. We will always remember Rosie as an engaging personality with an acute sense of humor, a dedicated and consistent fighter for freedom, human dignity, and social and economic justice. And memory of his characteristic dimpled smile should help at alleviating our sadness at his loss. Thank you.
We now call on the Vice Consul General of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Ms. Sylvia Theodore, to bring greetings from Dominica.
His Excellency Simon Paul Richards, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Dominica to the United Nations, members of DARDA, and fellow Dominicans. Before I bring you the Independence Day Message 2000 of Honorable Pierre Charles, Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs, I would just like to say two things. First, I would like to apologize for the absence of our Honorable Consul General, Mrs. Christine Parilla, who is ill. I would also like to inform you of the special service in memory of our late Prime Minister, which will be held on the 12th of November at Our Lady of Grace Roman Catholic Church on 3985 Bronxwood Avenue in the Bronx. And on behalf of the Consulate General, I have the honor to invite everyone present here to attend the service and to pay their last respects to the late Honorable Prime Minister. And now for the Independence Day message of the Honorable Prime Minister, and I quote, "Fellow Dominicans, friends of the Nature Isle, as we celebrate the birth of our nation, let me congratulate you on the hard work that you have done during the past 22 years. We should also take time off to reflect on the hard work done by all our leaders during that period. Special mention must be made of our late dear brother and leader, Prime Minister Roosevelt Douglas. Dear friends, on the 1st of February 2000, Roosevelt Bernard Douglas was sworn in as the 5th Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. For the 8 months he served as Prime Minister, he proved to be a great visionary and a man of tremendous foresight. He worked hard day and night for the improvement of the lives of every Dominican. His death filled our hearts with grief and sadness, but his vision inspires us to work harder. Rosie would have wanted nothing less. He is gone, but his dream lives on. The theme for this year's Independence celebrations, Catch the Vision, Build the Future, is most appropriate. It is said that a people without a vision will perish. Our government is committed to the vision articulated by the late Prime Minister for the development of this country. This vision entails a new political culture, a more open and accountable government free of corruption, a new economy of enterprise in which information technology and services would play a major role. This vision also entails improved educational, recreational, and employment opportunities for the youth, affordable housing and healthcare for the entire population, the establishing of more profound relations with friendly governments, especially with our immediate neighbors and the European Union. The opportunity to install discipline in our future leaders for the Dominica Cadet Corps is no less an aspect of that vision than the foregone. As we face the seemingly unconquerable challenges of globalization and a new century, it is important that we have a clear understanding of what we have to do. Today, modern technology and education provide us with the opportunity to advance step by step along with the developed countries of the world. Informatics and information technology are keys towards achieving developmental goals. We must therefore continue to focus on the tasks at hand. These include improving our fiscal and economic situation, stimulating foreign investment, developing our human resources, modernizing our infrastructure, and creating jobs for our people. Let us as Dominicans put aside our differences and put God and country first. We must continue to pray and have faith in God. Let us seek His inspiration in all that we do. In so doing, we will make our country a beacon for the entire world to see. Let's all catch the vision and work together to build a better future. Congratulations, Dominica. End of quote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Parra, for reading that message, and Mr. Richards for that wonderful tribute to our prior Prime Minister. We'd like Monty Douglas to come up to say a few words about a fund that will be started in the late Prime Minister's name.
Thank you, Lorna. I'm Dr. Douglas. I would like to thank everyone on behalf of the Douglas family for the many words of condolences and comfort that you've given to us over the past month. It has been a very, very difficult time for all of us, both in the family and all Dominicans and people of the Caribbean. Now that the shock of the death is beginning to pass, now we all have to live. We all now have to face life without Rosie, and I know it's going to be difficult. We'd all like to see his work continue, and you know what he stood for, that he wanted to see equality and freedom for all. And so, in his honor, we've established a foundation entitled the Prime Minister Rosie Douglas Foundation for the assistance of the underprivileged. And there is a flyer that is at the front desk that will give you the specifics on where you could send your contribution. It will be to assist the poor. Basically, that's what Rosie was all about. But he did it in a way he felt that all Dominicans outside Dominica should be involved in the development of Dominica. He also felt that we should utilize our friends on all sides, both left and right, to make whatever the contributions they can to the development of Dominica. So basically that's what this foundation is about. If you can be generous as much as you can, we would really appreciate. We are selling some small cards at the front desk, $5 each. All will be deposited in this account. The account is located at the Commerce Bank, 15 North Pennsylvania Avenue, Atlantic City, New Jersey, 08401. Account number 14386-361. So I'll put the flyers, one on every table, plus at the front desk, and I'll be selling the cards. So whatever you can do, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we hope that everybody will be very generous to this foundation. Our next item on the agenda is to recognize the special patrons to DARDA. These are people who have sold in excess of 10 tickets to this affair. And what happens is that they get a free ticket for next year's affair. So here are the names. And we ask that they would come up to receive their letter for their free ticket for next year. It's Myrtle Alexander, Johnny Alfred, Mr. Walter Cook, Mrs. Natalie James, Ms. Haima Javier, Ms. Gita Joseph, Mr. Huxley Mitchell, Mr. Peter Richards, Mr. David White, and Mr. John Wilson. President say one of the goals of DARDA is to really bring forward our culture in New York and to keep the traditions alive. Every year at this our National Day celebration, we try to highlight one aspect of our culture. This year, we have a fashion show, a small collection of our national dress designed and manufactured by Mocha Designs Couture. Mocha Designs Couture is one of many branches of Mocha Productions, a New York City business owned by two Dominicans, Morrison Thomas and Kathy Toulon Thomas. Mocha Productions has been diligently filming and recording Dominican events in the USA and back home and broadcasting these programs on their weekly show on QPTV here in Queens. Some of you may have seen this Wednesday's article in the Queen's edition of the Daily News. Morrison is currently directing and producing In Our World, a soap opera based on Caribbean life in New York. In Our World debuted on Wednesday night and will air weekly at 10:30 p.m. on Channel 34. Mocha's regular program, Solutions, airs every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on Channel 34 and repeated on Fridays at 3 p.m. on Channel 54. Some of the pieces that you will see here this evening were part of the collection shown by Kathy at the African Mosaic Fashion Show last September, which was held here in New York and in Paris and Accra, Egypt. And some other pieces are currently on tour in England and Paris. Mocha Designs Couture has just moved to New York's famous Bridal Building and will have their grand opening on Saturday, December 2nd, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Kathy specializes in custom-made apparel such as gowns, evening wear, complete bridal wear, and traditional wear from all cultures. Her clientele ranges in ages, sizes, and cultures and come from as far away as Egypt, Ethiopia, the Congo, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, New Zealand, Brazil, and throughout America. So we are in good company to present some numbers from Kathy's collection of Dominica's national dress. Our first model is modeling the Wab Juliet. We have Miss Janelle McIntyre featuring the Wab Juliet, shown here made of yellow plaid tropical wool. It is pleated at the waist and has a separate belt. The petticoat is bordé anglais with red, green, and yellow ribbon. Tatiana is wearing a single knot headpiece and with one peak. This is the headpiece that was worn by either married women or widows. So even the headpiece has a peak. Tatiana is wearing a matching yellow foulard. This is all models we have today. Let's give them a round of applause. We have the models come back up. Can the models come back up, please? Miss Janelle McIntyre, sorry. Miss Lisa McIntyre, Miss Sandra Norris, and Miss Tatiana Thomas. And I'd also like to introduce Miss Kathy Toulon Thomas, who is the designer, and I guess since she gets one of these herself. So anybody who wants them wear for next year can see Kathy. The fate of our national dress really lies in our hands and in people like Kathy who continue to make them and promote them. It is our responsibility to pass this beautiful and proud tradition on to our special tribute to Mr. Barron, because Mr. Barron was in Dominica. He was supposed to come back today. He came back yesterday specially to play for us today. Mr. Barron is an original member of the Traddy Bell dance group from Granby. And he's one of the expert dancers of both quadrille and ballet, and he also plays the drums. Miss Rosalind McLean will dance the ballet for us under Mr. Johnson's play.
watch me at the ground.
Joanne Joseph, number 23. Give her a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Joanne Joseph. Now we have Miss Matthew McLean, number 24.
No more running, no more cleaning. Oh, she only give me a good hand. I know she wonders what the words of yonder. Around the smiling face all of nature's wonder. Nothing I mix salad, where did my appetite?
This one's a little one. Alexandra Chase. Smiling, these are the pledges wonder. Nothing I mix salad, where did my appetite? Watch me at the wonder. I'd love to get her to lean on my shoulder. I'll be the next summer. I never
Oh,